joking. What do you mean done with their life? Just so we're, what do you mean by that?
He returned the bad medicine that he had to the people, and
Hello, we've lost you, the sound.
a call suddenly interrupted, but I think we're back.
We're back,
Yeah.
so just rewind and come again. So you were saying, sorry?
Yeah, so at the end of the 48 hours, he was done. He'd been through, been to hell and back. He phoned every member of the family and apologized. This was his own idea. And absolutely could see things from everybody's point of view.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the thing for me. That was, I didn't know that was going to happen at all, and I knew I was risking, with what I said to him, I was risking him finishing and getting up and going.
Oh, well, there was a lot of risk. Yeah, there's a lot of risk there, I guess, that you had to overcome and get through to get to that place, just the fact of, the idea of a mother offering her child this as an option to deal with what you're trying to do. It's like, it just doesn't sound responsible. It doesn't sound like this is what you're meant to be doing. But hey, I wouldn't even say desperate times call for desperate measures. I just think that it called for like real solutions, getting to the root of the problem. I guess you had tried things before, and have approached it in different ways, I'm assuming, and I do know, to some degree, and this is what you felt would be required. And I was just curious to know, because I do speak on this, just how well did he receive it? And you made that real clear in a short space of time, with the knowledge and information that he gained, saying it didn't take him but just a few days to decide that this was something that he wanted to do, even though he may not have known exactly what he was getting into and may have had other ideas about the outcome. Yeah. I think that plays a lot into people who I know consciously go into using psychedelics. Like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to find this out. And it's like, oh, you better wait up a minute, because you may have agendas, but the plants and the organisms also have agendas, and they're there to, to sort you out in ways that you may not have anticipated. Yeah. So I'd just like to know, because I am aware, just like with the addiction, people work with these things, MDMA, PTSD, and alcohol and heroin and stuff like that. And some people, it works for them where they can do it one time and they don't have to do it no more, or they have to have kind of ongoing sit-ins with therapeutic support and stuff like that. And then some people, they break, down the line, they didn't make it through, and they, they have withdrawal symptoms and they go back to where they're at. So I'm really curious to know where your son is at with all of this. How long was this journey from us getting that, crossing the lines and making that happen? How long was he involved for? Now, how long has he been partaking, or a one-off thing? How did you, I know I don't want to find the details, but just how did it, the timeline?
So he's had to have a few more, which he has requested himself.
He's requested.
Yeah, totally requested himself. And he's also doing breath work, which he keeps saying he wants to do daily. He doesn't do it daily, but I have heard this week in the morning, I've heard him doing the Wim Hof breathwork stuff. So he's doing that. He's exercising. I mean, the thing that's been interesting is I can see how it's a long journey. So although it was like straight afterwards, it was all over. Also, now what I can see is, I suppose now he's having to deal with the realizing what he put himself and the rest of the family through, and all of that kind of stuff. And once this blockade is lifted, we're going to be traveling again, and also for him to be in some different spaces, because it's all a lot of stuff. We're still in the same area, there's still the same people around, it's not kind of just yeah, one time, then done, then go off, get a
That's
job.
why I asked, man, because I don't want to sell the illusion that, you know, it's, you know, a magic pill thing and, you know, this is what it is. And that's, you know, it was done overnight, like you said. But the fact that you've taken this route and, you know, again, I don't know how many things you tried before getting
Mm.
to this place, but had you had made, I'm guessing you didn't make significant progress to where you came back to this. And then the
Yeah,
options that you was giving your son, I'm assuming, because now you're saying that he's actually asking for,
yeah.
like, which I think is, you know, really interesting.
Mm.
Simply because when you get what you get what you get, and you know, you know what you need to do, and you can either run away from it and suppress it, or you can address it. So what that's letting me know within, and I've never met your son in that regard, but he's a true warrior. You know, he's exactly what I vision in the sense of how these young people are portrayed that are up for doing the kind of things that he was up for doing, because it takes a certain heart. It takes a, you know, it takes a certain level of
Yeah.
foolishness, a certain level of, you know, naivety to get caught up in that. But it also takes, you've got to be brave, you've got to have, you know, heart, be able to, you know, jump out and go and do certain things that you get, you know, you get caught up in, whether it's, you know, perceived right or wrong.
Mhm.
But you know, I always use the kind of Mike Tyson analogy as an example, being that, you know, since his experiences in taking DMT, you know, he went from, you know, the boxing, killing machine, biting people's ears, being accused of rape, and all of these kind of other things. And I can only imagine the load and the baggage that he has to carry, and still carries, I guess, but has been able to. I've seen all on the internet, all on his own podcast, teaching and sharing how, you know, these plants have enabled him to drop his load, liberate himself, and, you know, start apologizing to people, start, you know,
Yeah.
you know, his story, you know. And it always used to make me think, you know, if it, you know, it's worked for me, it's worked for a few mates that I've grown up
Yeah.
with, it's worked for Mike Tyson, you know, of all
Yeah.
people.
Exactly.
And now I meet with his sister, and years later, after the challenges that you shared with me, that you had with your son, you're in a better place, and we can really pin it down to these experiences that you had allowed you to open up your perspective and let me address this slightly differently now. I've been approaching it,
Absolutely.
it's not the correct way that I've been approaching it to get the results that I need. So it got you to that place, and then eventually enabled you to have conversations with your son that you wouldn't have had before, I guess, about this subject matter. And now where your son's now embraced it, and I think that is an amazing story and testimony, and really takes heed to one of the messages that I've been trying to share, you know, like about bringing psychedelics to the hood, you know, and making it accessible.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the plants themselves, at minimum, the information, the knowledge
Yeah.
about it, just like you have to share with your son, just to be privy to the fact of what these things are, and, you know, and how they can be used in supporting you in becoming a better version of yourself, but, you know,
Yeah.
lack of a way of explaining it, and, you know, recorrecting the things. Or if you want to be the biggest, baddest drug dealer, maybe this can help you too, but it's going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. So yeah, you could be the best drug dealer in Southeast London or wherever it is, but this is what comes with that. And this is, it's going to give you the views, and you can sit back and say, hey, I didn't really look at the whole thing. And that's what we find out a lot of the young people I work with get caught up in. They're like, yeah, I was on it, I went and shanked him, and then shit, I realized afterwards what the hell I'd done. Or I picked up the food and I was dropping it for my mate, and it was during the raid where it all hit home as to what, you know, like in the moment we're not thinking about it. So as a non-discriminative teacher, and the unbiased perspectives it gives us, I think it gives us that insight initially that we wouldn't see otherwise. And, you know, and it might make you say, do you know what, I'm not really trying to pick up the gun or the knife or the kilo of crack to go and deliver it, because I can see some of the options that are going to come with that in the here and now, and I'm not feeling that that's, you know, beneficial to me in the here and now. And it's giving me some other perspectives, some other ways of looking at it, and I'm feeling those things. And that's what it's done with my life in particular areas. I guess it's done it with yours, and then I'm like, well, why, you know, why wouldn't it work with other people? Especially if we then start considering people who have had the experience, who've got the testimonies, that we could create safe spaces and havens and where we could facilitate and make it culturally appropriate, you know, and for these young people to understand, you know what, just like, you know, and I'm just tying it in with something I watched the other day on Vlad TV, not to give anyone any shout outs, but he was interviewing Free Ray Ricky Ross, who was well known for
Oh
being
yeah, yeah, yeah. My son listens to both of them on various.
See, that's right now, because we're cut from the same cloth, you know what I'm saying? Because it all makes sense. It all just makes sense. Because we look at these guys, we see what they're up to and what, you know, what they've gone through. But Ricky Ross, for those who don't know, was basically the first person who got his hands on some crack cocaine, inspired them, giving it to him by, you know, the government agents that are out there. As a young teenager himself, he was manipulated into becoming an ambassador for distributing that stuff and become really good at it, and became, you know, one of the top drug dealers. Ended up spending like 20, 30 years, I don't know how long, in jail for his, you know, for his actions and all the rest of it. He's now back on the street doing the right thing, telling people this is not the way to go, and, you know, he made some errors, but he's revealing a lot about how he ended up in that position in the first place, the players that were involved. That, you know, remember, I was just a young teenager trying to work this shit out. I didn't know what it be a big time drug dealer or baron, you know, baron. These things were placed in place for me to become that by certain forces and people in power. But something he mentioned in that interview that really hit home, and we spoke about it throughout our talks in some way or another, was, he said, you know, he goes, I was the biggest drug dealer, crack dealer, yes, and he goes, I actually take responsibility for that, you know, the families that I've destroyed, you know, and the butterfly effect. But he goes, never once did anybody ask me, how the hell did I get in this position in the first place? How, as a young teenager, did I get into a position where I thought that I would need to have to sell drugs to bring in an income to support me and my family? Nobody asks that. We don't get to the root of the problem. And I can say through my own experiences in working with plants, it takes you to the root, man. And then what he ended up saying, without having to take the plants, I don't know if he takes the plants and work with them, but he you know, he brought up the subject of, you know, post-traumatic stress disorder, and in particular, post-traumatic slave syndrome. He looked at the fact of, you know, programming did I need to go through to get me to this place, and who programmed me? Where are those people? You know, he really goes into it, and as a mature elder now, I took my hat off to him, and then I'm looking at people like Rick Ross, Mike Tyson, who would be considered the bad guys. And reflection, they're, you know, they're where they're at. And your son, yourself, we may not get the shine or get the shout outs of the work that we're doing, but I'm sure that there's many other mothers out there that are going through this thing, looking for options, looking for alternatives for themselves, the help that they need, as well as for their sons. And they may need to listen to they may listen to a Mike Tyson or a Ricky Ross. You may need to go to the unorthodox places for the answers. Because they're not bespoke, they're not tailored to who, you know, the people who need the results require, you know, and it takes from those places who have had those experiences, say, hey, this is what I went through, and this is what I came out the other end feeling, and, you know, all the rest of it. And this may be a better model, a better way, an alternative way to approach what you're doing. So sis, I really just commend you, because I remember when I first met you that day, and what, you know, outside of the knowledge and stuff that we gained, we had that conversation about your son and young people and the challenges that me as a teacher, you know, facilitator faces, as a parent, I face society, and just trying to navigate through this, and just what are they going through, and how are we going to get to the root. My thing was, I really think these plants can do it, man. I really feel like they play a part in this, you know, and it's not for everybody, but you definitely put it into action. And I'm not wearing a hat, but I take my hat off. I salute you in, you know, just as well as making it public, feeling comfortable enough to share it and put it out there. And I hope that your son, when he comes out the other end, you know, as a young man and a warrior that he is, that he may be able to give guidance to other young people that are going through it, whether they need to take plants or not. It's just that matter of being able to look yourself in the mirror, see what you're actually doing, the impact that you're having on yourself primarily, and then others. And is that really what you want? And it may not be your mother, your father, or your school teacher, or the local community police officer who's going to get through to you in making you realize that. And, you know, listen to Mike, listen to Ricky Ross, listen to Sister Akua. You may find some other options and get into addressing not just with its county line stuff, or, you know, just like my son's bunking off school, you know, all the things that we face, and you can't communicate with your child. Why are you doing this? What's going on? And sometimes we think it's the control, but it's us. And like I said, you need to find another way of addressing or approaching your son to get to that point where you can start having those conversations. So thank you, Francis. I really appreciate that.
Not at all.
But
thank you.
No, but I'll say, is there anything more that you would like to share or give up? Sorry?
No, I was saying thank you for the opportunity because, yeah, you know, like last time I was where I was, and this time it's really nice to be able to have an update. But I think what the only thing I'd really like to add is I think as parents now, really the world is calling for a real radical honesty about where we are as a society, as a people. And I just think I was so blinkered for
Mm,
so long, you know, and it's like, yeah, we're all talking about racism, and then we don't take it seriously in our lives with our children.
mm,
And when I think about it now, with everything I knew about the world, I can't actually believe that I put my son in secondary school because I knew that's why we left the country in the first place. I knew it was not an institution that was going to be for his highest good.
mm,
And yet I was able to also tell myself a story about money and stuff that put him there. Actually, when things were going wrong, I wasn't able to work as if nothing was going on.
mm,
So, you know, and I talk to, and I feel really passionate about this because I talk to my younger sister and her husband with two boys, and I talk to them about it saying, we're having this conversation, but it needs to come out in action. You know, we can't say the schools are bad for our children. We can't say the police are this and all this stuff. And then actually you're listening to songs of your children where they're talking about black people killing other black people and you're putting them in schools. Don't say it then.
totally,
You know,
man.
we got to be.
With you there, sis, man. I'm so with you there, you know. It's ironic. I think the way I'm going to edit this, I want to follow this up with a talk that I done with someone else the other day because this came up, you know, like, again, just it's easy to blame and point fingers at what's not working for us, but we set ourselves up by doing the same thing, repeating the same thing, expecting different results. And we're just good at complaining and talking about a lot. So just like you said, it was action time. So for me, I mentioned it just why I decided, as I mentioned earlier on, like why my children were homeschooled, because at that particular time where I was educated in Camden, it didn't serve me well. And I could look
Yeah.
at the end of it and see what the hell I got out of it. And what I got out of it ultimately was just some good mates that I'm connected to now. That's
Yeah.
what, if we're talking about education, you know, that's not what place. I was educated by the white guys who were going up Hampstead Heath, taking pills and pop. That was the education I got that I still live with. But the algebra and the history and, you know, I'm picking up books now and having to re-educate myself because, you know, that's not what was, you know, provided. So what am I saying? I'm saying that to say that when it was time for me to have children, I was like, well, has the system changed? Has it upgraded? Has it developed? Is it going to offer my children a better service than I was offered? And I knew then that it wouldn't. So I had to make a decision and make actions. And like I said, that's how Ancient Future was born. That was birthed out of me saying, all right, well, if I'm not going to take them out of school, where's the school that we're sending them to? You know, well, what do we have and what do we have in place? And it just took from me and a few other families who felt similar to say, well, let's come together. And we started off in a room, then we end up in a community centre, and it grows and develops. My children are adults now and they're doing their thing, or young adults, should I say, doing their thing. But we realised that it was basically, talk was cheap. You know, so action was okay. Well, we don't have the schools in place. We're going to take them out. We're not going to send them to school in the first place. That was the decision that we made. But it was just basically talking the talk and applying the action, doing it. And again, I'm not going to blow my own trumpet, but my children are on their way to doing some amazing things. And all the fear that was being projected on us, as well as the children, that you're going to have some dumb children if you don't send them to school and your children are stupid, innit? Like, and what we're finding out is that the children who go to school now, the temptations and the things that are presented to them are more of a distraction that send them on the wrong path and you know, destroy them, you know, for their lives potentially, unless you can wake yourselves up. So again, there's a lot that we could go into, and I don't know if one day your son will jump up and be open to sharing platforms.
I hope one day.
Because just like he would bear witness to all those men that have come and spoken to him in the past and tried to get it, he's going to realize how important that is. Just like I do as a man. I remember being in those youth clubs as a 12, 13-year-old, and the older pulling me to the side and saying, yo, bro, like, this isn't what you need. And not hearing him at the time, you know, but now knowing that, bro, those seeds that were planted were very important, you know. Those seeds are planted, and sometimes they germinate that seeds, and sometimes years later. But your son's going to have some seeds to sow, I'm pretty sure about it. for the generations moving forward. So no pressure on him whatsoever, but just
Yeah.
if he decides to make that move, I'm just saying, I really just hope that's what we need, people to stand up and be counted, basically, like you are. So on that note, we're going to do this again definitely in the near future. But in the meantime, just because you still do a lot, you're doing a lot out there, I'd just like to know, how can we find you, find out more about you, how are you accessible, and, you know,
Okay, so everything is on Instagram, Facebook, and now I'm being a bit more active on YouTube, and everything is my name, Akua Ofosuhene. So that's AKUA, Akua, O-F for Freddie, O, S for sugar, U-H-E-N-E, Ofosuhene. And I'm pretty much the one who comes up when you put those two names into Google.
I like it. I like having original names, man. Well, so I've created my one. I have to create an original name, but yeah, man, nice. All right, sis. So with that said, I really appreciate your time, and I'm really hoping that when I press end this time, that box comes up and says converting and doing its thing. I've done all the double checking before, and I'm glad we've done it. I'm glad, you know, because I woke up this morning, done my stuff that I had to do, and I was like, oh, we should have done it later on, and, you know, just to get the energy right. We done it in the evening last time, but with that said, I think this came out. Good. Yeah, I think it came out better than the last one. Just how we covered it. Yeah,
exactly. That's exactly what I found with this time. Yeah, no, that's exactly what I found. No, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, wicked.
Thank you so much. So and yeah, I'll get a date in the diary to have you on mine.
All right, nice, man. I'm ready when you are, sis. But enjoy the rest of your day, man, and let's catch up soon.
Brilliant. Take care. Have a good one.
All right, you too.